Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Surbhi Tandon from India, and I'll be presenting the paper on national security, a prominent political agenda for Indian elections 2019. And I'll be presenting on behalf of Dr. Durgesh Tripathi. I'm the second author of the paper, and let us start. So, giving a background of the Indian elections of 2019, it is the world's largest democratic exercise because of the sheer size of the voters. It was approximately more than 900 millions, which is double of the US population, uh, more than maybe double of the US population, whereas the voters in 2014 elections were 550 million. It is the direct elections to the lower house of the parliament, which is called the House of the People. And we had around 84.3 million first time voters, and 15 million out of them were 18 to 19 years old. So we had these elections in 7 phases, and it took more than a month. So you can see how massive the exercise is, and the manpower that is used, and also to conduct even these elections, maybe more than some countries. It was more than 1 million polling booths. This photograph that you see is actually on which we vote. You press that button on the political party or the candidate that you want to vote on. And as I said, some smaller countries would not even have the kind of population that we use as the manpower to conduct these. Manpower means the people from the election commission, security agencies, teachers. A lot of teachers are also part of this. So we had 6 national parties, whereas there were more than 2,000 parties which participated in the elections for 440. So the seats are 445. Out of them, there were elections on 542, and one election 543 actually, but one election was cancelled due to some malpractices or something, and 2 seats are reserved for Anglo Indians. So if we see in terms of gender also, the large size of the voters, 900 million, then the actual voting percentage was more for women compared to men in this elections. And third gender is obviously less because a lot of people have a stigma calling themselves third gender, but it also covered the third gender. And the total voting population was one of the largest in since 1950s, like the voting percentage. So this was a massive election in which a lot of people participated. Now that is the election result. There are two main parties. One is the BJP and the other is the Indian National Congress. BJP is like a right-wing party, whereas a centrist Congress is said to be the centrist or the centrist left party. So BJP won a massive victory. It is for the first time that BJP came to power on its own. Otherwise, they had always been coming to power, but with a coalition government. So this was a massive victory. Out of 542, they had won 303 seats on their own, and with coalition partners, it was more than 350. So it was a massive verdict for this right-wing party. For the first time on their own, they were coming to power. And let us see why, what could be one of the probable reasons, which is the national security. So how national security became the narrative. Some background of the national security. The election were supposed to be held in April to May, and in February 2019 there were Pulwama attacks. This attack basically means that there was a truck or a convoy of paramilitary forces which were shifting in some other part of the Kashmir, and there was a suicide bombing on them, and a whole convoy was blown off, and there were more than 70 people, 70 army personnel who were killed in this. So in retaliation, India believes that this was a Pakistan-sponsored or, a Pakistani terrorist who planned and initiated it. So India did some retaliatory airstrikes on the training camps of terrorists in Pakistan, or the POK, which is the Pakistani occupied Kashmir. So there were retaliatory airstrikes or the precision airstrikes in which Indian fighter planes went like they went across the border to destroy those tanks. And then there was also the test of anti-satellite missile test, and I think India is the only fourth country in the world to have this anti-satellite missile test, and it was successful. So this was directly linked to the elections of 2019, and so the BJP, which is the party in power right now, they, instead of talking about their own development policies, economic policies, and their own agenda of 2014, which is called the Achhe Din, or they will bring back the good days, or they will boom the economy. The earlier government, which was before 2014, has had massive corruption charges. So they said that instead of corruption, we will give you development, we will give you good governance, we will give you Achhe Din, as they say. So instead of talking on all those areas, they chose to highlight this national security aspect. And BJP brought the security forces into electoral discussion. And in some quarters of the media, there was questioning about these airstrikes and what was this, what was the aim, what is their long-term strategy. But whenever somebody tried to question the armed forces, there was this apprehension, or the party in power would say that you cannot question the armed forces, or you would be anti-national, or by questioning the forces, you are just being anti-national. So this strong political leadership, this political leadership was juxtapositioned with military action, that anybody like this man who is the prime ministerial candidate, he was the prime minister first time, and he was supposed to become the prime minister second time. He said that only strong leadership can make India secure, and he did not talk about a lot about the Achhe Din. He created a new narrative. Obviously, there is a rise of this notion of nationalism, where across the world, wherever right-wing parties are coming into power. So then there was this notion of Chaukidar, which in Indian language means security guard. So he said, I am the Chaukidar, and I'm going to secure the nation from the other countries, or and for decisive decisive foreign policy and to secure the nation, there is need for the security guard. He created that notion that I'm going to protect the country, and for protection there is need for the strong political leadership, which the Congress cannot offer. Whereas on the other side, the other party was giving him the charges for a corruption, in which they said Chaukidari chor hai, which means in Hindi, or that the security guard is the one who's accused of the corruption charges. So, however, the Supreme Court rejected those charges. These corruption charges were itself in a defense deal, which was the Rafale deal, which is a fighter plane which is to be procured by India. Some of them have arrived now. So, what was the cost of the security narrative? The unemployment rates were highest in last 40 years. And if I talk of the present day, are because of the stringent lockdown that is seen as very unplanned in the media because of the coronavirus, our GDP has contracted in the largest in the world. That is 23.9% contraction in the last quarter of the GDP. It had begun, the economic crisis had begun in 2019 itself, when the unemployment rates were highest in 40 years. There was farm distress. There was no talk of the prime ministerial candidates belong to a state which is called Gujarat, which is one of the highly industrialized states of India. So he thought that he will implement that Gujarat model to across India, but he was not able to do so, or it was in a very limited capacity. So that development model, Gujarat model of development, was not implemented. And he did not talk about a lot of the government policies or the Achhe Din that he used to talk about. And there was another difference from the 2014 campaign, where he became this poor man who could rise up to this political highest point, and he called himself that he was a tea seller, and from tea seller he could become India's prime ministerial candidate of one of the national parties. So he said, I am a chaiwala and I could rise, so everybody could rise, and this is the aspirational India. But here in 2019 campaign, which made him a great equalizer in that sense, but in 2019 campaign, He did not talk of the Achhe Din, he did not talk of the development, he did not talk of this, and he created a newer narrative of security and how important it is to have decisive leadership to secure the country from twin challenges of Pakistan and China being our neighbors, and we are sitting at the conjuncture. Then the phrases that were used, that were regularly used, massively used in the election campaigns were that the blood of the people are boiling, Indian armed forces needs to be given a free hand, because it is believed that the other parties who come to power are not that decisive in terms of both foreign policy and security. So he said that I'll give a free hand to the security forces, that whatever action they need to take, I'll support them politically or through political leadership. He said that I want to ask the first-time voters, can you dedicate your first vote to the courageous pilots who struck at Balakot? Balakot is where we made the airstrikes. So, or can your first vote be in the name of the courageous martyrs who lost their lives in Pulwama, or zero tolerance approach to terrorism and nation first? Now we can see this nation first is also among the America first policy of Trump. So it is, as I say, the right wing and the Islamophobia that you create through your narratives, and how national security becomes the turning point of the elections. So comparison of the manifestos of the two major parties, and the difference that in 2014 he was attacking the opposition parties. This man who belongs to a dynasty party, Congress is a dynasty party and he's a dynast. So in this election, he was not targeting him for the dynasty, but he was creating a campaign or a positive campaign to make national security as the agenda for the elections. So military capability, both talked about enhancement of the military capabilities. Both, one party talked about the Chief of Defense Staff, where this BJP did not talk about the Chief of Defense Staff, which is like a centralization of the for the military theater. And BJP has actually implemented this after coming into power, but it was not part of their manifesto. So even in defense budget, which was less than 2% during the tenure of this government, both talks of enhancement of defense budget. But while talking of the security, we need to keep in mind that their budget was the lowest since 1962 in terms of defense. So they created this narrative about giving the power to security forces, but in actual terms they were not, the spending was not there in terms of the defense budget. The defense budget was largely based on the salaries of the personnel or the other expenses that the army has to bear. It was not for the enhancement purposes. Congress also said that they will enhance the budget, but they did not mention that how they are going to do it. Okay, both talk of, this party talks of the national security doctrine, where this party talks of also foreign policy in cooperation with, or the national security in cooperation with SAARC and ASEAN for bringing more trade and investments. This party talks of police reform, smart fencing, Make in India, which is a manufacturing initiative of the government of that came into 2014 BJP government in defense, and they are Make in India, but they have also opened the channels for private personnel to create defense and also more of sharing of technology from foreign players. So, however, the important point that the BJP missed in terms of national security is that they did not talk of security in a very holistic terms. They were only dealing with Pakistan, China, we are going to enhance, but they did not talk in a holistic sense in the terms of cyber security, financial security, how data will be secured in a country where you are increasing digitization. Pandemic has massively increased the data. We are all doing digital payments. We're all transacting digitally. So they did not talk of real security threats that are looming large in front of India. India do not have a data policy. We do not have data regulators till now. So as part of the speeches, defense and this Chaukidar dominated the speeches of Narendra Modi in March 2019 to April 2019. And when people were asked what they would vote for in this election, so they said development, price rise, unemployment, which were the real issues. But how a political party tries to, divert those people's issue. As I said, nationalism, security, strong leadership, whereas Congress wanted to bring about a universal basic plan, equality, farm loan waivers, and welfare schemes. Then there is a historic record of two of the other prime ministers in India who returned after creating war, like not creating war, but after the war. So there was a conflict with Pakistan in 1999, after which Atal Bihari Vajpayee came back to power, and Indira Gandhi came back to power after 1971 war with Pakistan only, and when creation of Bangladesh was there. So it can be resonated. There are studies which believe that Democrats cannot handle the security perspective as decisively as. So there is this kind of xenophobia. Russian interference in US elections was the narrative that Trump tried to create gun violence. As I said, nation first was in India, America first, make America great again. Then political agenda or propaganda. So there is this increased thrust after 9/11 on this issue of security.
And just propaganda. You have 4 minutes left.
Okay, yeah, I have 2-3 more slides of you. Okay, so propaganda model, which was given by Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky in his book Manufacturing Consent. Common enemy was an important ideology there. One of the one of the agenda which resonates with my ideas, that common enemy. However, that common enemy at that time was anti-communism or the spread of the communism, and there have been connections where you have to, they try to control public awareness. They use non-coercive methods. There is evocation, there is emotional. And if we see the idea of propaganda, then it was commonly one of the most commonly used words in World War I and World War II. And even they say that propaganda is even older. Napoleon used to use this propaganda of military and strong military leadership back then. And then, as I said, common enemy has changed now. It is, you can resonate it with xenophobia or rise of right. It was then anti-communism and others. So even in the propaganda model, there is this the new propaganda model, which is we are talking about. In that, Daniel Brownlee and Myung Tanji, they question this idea that one of the missing elements of Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consents propaganda model is for state security. However, he confines it the idea to America and how 9/11 changed the things, how one needs to, how one needs that state security, how people need to follow the leader who's, ensuring the state security. He talks about the whistleblowers like Julian Assange and Snowden and their treatment, and how state security has become this new agenda for politics. And this is my last slide. So the general public must be reduced to its traditional apathy or obedience and driven from the arena of political debate if democracy is to survive. So the main political issues of economy, of development were backtracked in Indian elections, and this agenda of national security was brought forth so that a party can come back to power. They used in that terms army or the armed forces, so that national security narrative could be created, and their own policy failures, some of the policy failures, could be hidden by government, because when you evoke emotions and when you say to the first time voters that you need to vote for the martyrs, then the whole election changes and the whole narrative of the election changes. Thank you.